Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. From the Access Channel 5 studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Channel 5. Continuing the traditions of Senior Report, we are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week, countywide, from 9 to 10 a.m. Join us by calling in live, emailing us, or checking out our social media. And now, from the Channel 5 studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Here we are. I didn't know who I was here for a minute. There I am. Well, I look just like you, Joe. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, really, and we have a great show for you here this morning. And as always, before we get started, I've got oodles of information to share with you about what's going around the county and things you might want to do and see and hear. I guess we got one more week of summer. We got a little reprieve from you know what. I guess it's going to be a great day today. Tomorrow we're supposed to get rain, but all of next week they're saying it's supposed to be like mid-70s and sunny, no rain or anything. So if you still got your boats out there, keep going. If you still have your pools open, I already drained mine down. I gave it up. But we still got some nice weather out there. Okay, wrapping up from last week, we were talking with Stephen Gustafson from 10,000 Maniacs, and he called in about the concert. And this is just as a wrap up to the discussion we've been having the last couple of weeks. Went to the concert. Wow. He said they were going to rock the roof off the place, knock it off. They did just that. So we had a great time there, and homegrown entertainment, internationally famous band they really produced. Marianne, in fact, did show up. Marianne Spanis was up in the upstairs in the balcony. Randy was there and his family, so we all had a great time. So anyways, thanks, Steve, for calling in last week and getting us all excited about that. That was a good time. Well, it's grape season here in Chautauqua County. I was traveling through Silver Creek yesterday, and I saw that they're getting ready for their big grape festival this weekend. I got in there just before all the vendors were plugging up the arteries of the roadways there, but people are flocking there today. And if you're looking for something to do, hey, great time up there, all kinds of fun activities, music, they're stomping grapes, they're having wine sampling there and all kinds of things. So check it out over in Silver Creek, right downtown, right smack dab in the middle. You can't miss it. Just follow either Route 20 or Route 5 in there and you'll find it. Tomorrow, if you're so inclined, it's supposed to be a rainy day, so this is a perfect thing for you to do, and it's free of charge. Go to the 1891 Fredonia Opera House, right smack dab in the middle of Fredonia and Barker Commons there. 3 p.m., the folk free-for-all, okay? The Gilmans, once again, Carmen, Dick, they put this together and they bring in some of their friends, about 20 different friends. Everybody's up on stage and takes a turn, does a few songs. People sing in the audience can sing along. It's a great time, relaxed, and there's some giveaways, and then they ask for donations. That's how you can get in free, but you got to pay to get out. You know how it is. It's a fundraiser. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Folk free for all tomorrow, 3 p.m. Then we got some other things to talk to you about here, and I'm going to change my order on my paper here and try to make sure I don't lose my place. Okay, Town of Terror, something that maybe Joe and I will talk about here in a little bit. We're still looking for volunteers that want to be actors in the Town of Terror over the 3 weekends. We're looking for students or adults that have a yen for horror and scaring people. This is a phenomenal fundraiser for the Chautauqua Children's Safety Education Village, and it's going to be starting on October 10th, as you can see, every Friday and Saturday. If you've never been there, I'm going to tell you right now, it's like the #1 horror fun time that you can get in Chautauqua County. We've teamed up with the Aspire Theater and the mall, and you can get a combo ticket, and there's information at those places as well, and there's early bird tickets and all sorts of things. It's at the Safety Village over on Route 394, and it's part of the same real estate as the Hughes Educational Center for BOCES there. If you haven't been there, I'm telling you right now, I'm helping out as a volunteer as well, and it's a lot of fun. If you have kids, probably about 8 years on up, that'll be a great time to go. Tickets are $10 at the door. There's going to be a special trick-or-treat night. I don't know the date yet. I'll find out from Terry Kinberg when it's happening, but they have a trick-or-treat night for the little kids. It's not a real scary night. Everybody's in costumes. It's a lot of fun. Okay? Also, they're still looking for people that maybe want to compete and set up one of the buildings there for your particular agency or club, and there's some prize money involved. And if you're interested, give Terry Kinberg a call at the Safety Education Village. And as I say, we probably will swing back on that. Okay, I got another announcement here. Our friend Mary Ann Spanos, that was here last week, sent me a flyer. Isn't this amazing how, with the magic of TV, Joe, look at that. We just pop these things up. Health insurance public forums coming up. And there's the information for you. I won't read everything, mainly because I can't read it from here without my glasses. But this is the information that we were going to share with you that we talked about last week, that if you are confused about your health insurance, your supplemental insurance, you're not sure about your Medicare and so forth, this is the opportunity to get out there. There's the phone numbers that you can call, and don't just sit back and wonder if you're paying too much or not enough or getting good service. Get out there, get the information. It's free of charge. These people are pros in their field, all right? So that's a follow-up from Mary Ann, and we'll be announcing this in the next couple of weeks as well. Okay, our next announcement takes us over to the airport. This one's a new one on me. This came through this week. There's airport dedication. Where is this? Anyways, I've got to read this real quick. Okay, Jamestown Airport. Okay, and there's some information there, and it's October 4th at 10 a.m. And if you want more information, there's the phone number there. And so that's coming up. Right here in town in Mayville, our studios are in Mayville, and our friends at the Mayville Library have a fundraiser coming up. And it's going to be at the Captain's Table, as you can see. I guess it's going to be a great time. It's going to be held at Webb's, and there's going to be dinner and auction. And as you well know, all of our services are on tight budgets these days, and this is a great opportunity to get out there and support your local library. I remember as a kid, there was a small library up in Buffalo called the Fairfield Library on Fairfield Avenue off of Amherst, and I think I spent like 60% of my days after school when I was a kid going to that library and just pulling out books and just reading them and so forth, and taking books out and bringing them home, taking them back every week. I know that technology has changed a lot. I mean, we don't have a lot of printed material these days. It seems like we're doing more with technology and reading and so forth. But libraries have stepped it up. There's lots of opportunity for folks to find information and just do some fun things at libraries. So get out there and support the Mayville Library. Now, here's a new one. I've never seen this one before. A hot dog roast. And this is supporting United Way down here in the southern tier. And this is going to include homemade soup and chili and all kinds of goodies there for you. Friday, September 26th at noon. And I'm trying to see. Oh, now I don't know where this is. Where's Bester Plaza, Chris? Chautauqua Institution. Oh, right. That's where it is, at the Colonnade Library. You go right in the middle of Chautauqua Institution. There's a hot dog roast. Okay, so that's coming up on the 26th, sometime not too far from now. Okay, whew. Next week. Thank you, Chris. I got this voice in my head that keeps giving me answers. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Got that. Okay, even though you may know this or it's been in papers, I do want to share this because I know we have a variety of veterans that tune us in every week. And for your interest, up in the Dunkirk area, the Veteran Services Agency has moved. They're no longer where they used to be. They are now at 166 East 4th Street in Dunkirk, and their hours are from 8:30 to 4:30. And I don't know if there's a new number, but according to what I was reading, it sounds like one. So the number there is 268-6030. 268-6030. And again, it's at 166 East 4th Street in Dunkirk. We're going to have Gary Chilcott here on in a few weeks, and I'm sure he'll give us an update on that. But I do know they moved. Veteran services are very important, and if you're a veteran and you haven't checked out what's available to you, get over there. There's things that maybe you're paying for you shouldn't be paid for, and there's things and services that maybe you need that they can provide that you didn't even know you could get. So that's yours. Get out there and do it. Okay, coming up October 18th. Woo, lots of things here. The Westfield Mayville Rotary Gold Rush. They sell tickets. You get a dinner. I'll give more information when I have it. But hold that date, October 18th. The grand prize is to give away $1,000. And when I was president of the club, I handed out a $1,000 check to the winner. So it's all good. All right, let's see what else we got here. Okay. Every once in a while when I'm getting ready for the show here, I listen to the radio, read the paper, something occurs to me that's kind of like weird or something unusual. And so this, I'm not making this up. This could be coming to your hometown. This could be coming here to across all of America. I've never heard of this before, and I figure since we're getting into the Halloween season, maybe this would kind of seem interesting to you. A lot of people, unfortunately, have to go to a funeral home, and they get a little uneasy about it. I'm not making this up now. I'm telling you this. What I'm telling you is all true. And I've known relatives that say, "I'll go to the funeral home. I'll sign the book. I'll go up to the doorway, and that's where I stop." They just can't go any farther than that doorway. I respect that. Everybody respects that. Well, entrepreneurs that we are as Americans, they have come up with a solution to the squeamish people. Are you ready for this one? I'm not making this up now. They now have it at certain funeral homes, and I guess in large cities. I'm sure it's going to be coming to all of them sooner or later. They have a drive-in window. You pull up, you push a button, a curtain goes up, and you got 3 minutes to view the deceased from your car, so you don't have to go into the funeral home. I thought they were pulling my leg when I heard this. This is like going to McDonald's. This is weird. Anyways, I guess this has been a big hit, so I'm just letting you know this is something weird that could be coming into our hometown someday, and you heard it first here at Chautauqua Sunrise. With that, that's my weirdness for the day. We're going to take a break here, and then we're going to get right to our program with Sheriff Gerace. So this is a PSA for you folks.
In Vietnam, we took care of each other.
In combat, you look out for your battle buddy.
I'd do anything for my unit.
When things get tough, it's great to know
Somebody's there for you.
Every step of the way.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier, with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
One of our producers here was just reminding me they have drive-up services in Vegas to get married, so I guess you can have drive-up services to leave this world. I don't know. Anyways, I just thought that was pretty unusual. Okay, enough of that. Folks, I want to introduce an old friend of mine, Joe Gerace, and welcome to the show, Joe.
Great to
We
be
got
here.
lots of things to talk about here. My God, you've been busy for the last few months. I really had. Do you ever sleep?
That's just a waste of time.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, there's just lots of things we want to talk about today. But before we even get to what we're going to talk about, I got to do one reminder. I forgot to do this. Folks, this is a live show. It's Saturday morning. It's September, whatever it is. What is it today? I don't even know. What's today, Chris? 20th. Okay. Oh, it's my brother and sister-in-law's wedding anniversary. I should probably say happy anniversary, Bob, back 40 years. Anyways, this is a live call-in show. You can call us at this number. You can text us. You can Twitter us. You can email us, text, whatever it is. You can get a hold of us. You can call in. You can ask me a question, Joe a question. You can give us an announcement, whatever it is. This show is for everybody here in Chautauqua County. So don't hold back. Call in. The guys that answer the phone are really, really nice, and you can talk to us directly. So don't hesitate. So back to you, Joe. So you've been busy with lots of things. One of the things that I asked you to come on here to talk about right off the bat was what I call this old title War on Drugs. What the heck is going on out there? Heroin, 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 every single day in the paper. So I'll be quiet. What's going on?
Well, what's happening is affecting not only Chautauqua County, but the entire nation. And we're seeing a resurgence of heroin, and it's striking every community across the country. It's striking every socioeconomic group. And one of the reasons people say, why heroin? I mean, that's something we thought of in the 60s, and you know, hippies, and it's prescription drugs, Doc. It's prescription drugs. And we've seen in this country, according to the Drug Enforcement Agency, a 300% increase in the number of people that are on some sort of opiate-type prescription drug, and the number of people addicted to the opiates is estimated to be between 300 and 500,000 people.
Holy mackerel.
And we've made laws and regulations to restrict people continuing to fill these prescriptions, and they need it. They become physically dependent on it, and because of the cost of illegal prescription drugs, meaning buying it on the street, an Oxycontin, for instance, that can run between $40 and $80 for an 80 milligram tablet. A bindle or one dosage unit of heroin is between $4 and $10.
Bindle, that's a new word to me.
It's a dosage unit. It's a very small baggie that is melted, you know, and cooked and then injected into the bloodstream. And also we're seeing a powdered heroin coming out of Mexico that can be snorted, and folks that don't want to use the injection method for obvious reasons, because it leads to lots of things, including in some cases HIV and hepatitis and collapsed veins, and so they'll snort the drug instead of injecting the drug. So it can be pinpointed, and every expert in the world will tell you the same thing, that the prescription drug issue is one of the lead-ins to our current crises with heroin. And again, we're not alone, because we've received a lot of attention in the media because of the arrests and the number of drug search warrants that have been done and people arrested, that suddenly we have this problem. Well, it's not just us, and it's not suddenly. It's been growing slowly, but it's everywhere. In fact, this year the Vermont governor did his entire State of the State address talking about heroin addiction in the state of Vermont. And it's soccer moms, it's people that are in their 50s and 60s, and people that are in their teens, and they're dying from drug overdoses.
Not too long ago, I had a newspaper somewhere around here, and it had the 47 Billy Bobs and all these crazy nicknames they had of a network that was created somehow or another to supply the needs of people here in Chautauqua County, and I suppose the area around us. And my commentary at that time was, they're businessmen and they're providing a service, and it's us that's keeping them going in business.
Well, there's no doubt that the drug trade is supply and demand. It's a business, and when there's a demand, there'll be a supplier. And when we take a supplier out of circulation, if the profit is good enough, and you know, they look at the risk, and we're a low-risk community. We don't have the same networks of gang affiliations that some cities might have. That drugs are their way to raise money, you know, for the gangs. It's relatively safe. The profit margins are higher, but the demand, as you say, if you didn't have the demand, we wouldn't have the need for the supplier.
Vince Horgan and I had quite a chat on this a while back when he was on the show, and I said to him, what should people look for? For instance, for years we've always said that parents sometimes aren't even aware that their kids are using drugs, because kids are pretty good at disguising things. Obviously those kids have now grown up, and now they're adults, and maybe they're into other things. So heroin, I don't want to say I'm naive to drugs, because certainly there's been a drug culture around me all my life, but I don't know what I'm looking for. If I was going to say, is that person using heroin, is that person using heroin, are there things, telltale signs that people can look for?
Well, some of the things that parents, I'm talking about parents, can look for is kids may be more lethargic at times, or disinterested in other things, or Obviously, they need to come up with money. They're lying. They're late. Obviously, if you can see the physical changes in them, their body weight, if they have injection or bruising on their arms and hands or feet or legs, because they become desperate to find other places to inject so they don't get infection and don't get collapsed veins. A lot of it's behavioral. How are they acting? Heroin's a depressant drug, so we're looking for signs of person under a depressant drug. They sleep more often. Without it, they become very, very agitated and edgy, because they're going to go through withdrawals that we're told is like the flu times 10.
Oh my gosh!
Up to times 100. It is. We watch these inmates go through withdrawal in the jail, and it's ugly.
Wow. I see. I didn't realize that. We used to hear about the DTs and LSD flashbacks and things like that. But that's why I'm asking questions about heroin, because I don't think we've really, as a community, really studied this or talked about it. There's been an ongoing discussion, and there's some evidence to this with the economy. And someone just wrote in on Twitter. Is there a connection with homeless, the economy, and drugs? Is there a connection? Every person that's homeless and every person that's down on their luck is not going to be in drugs. I know that, but is there in some kind of a fertile area for that to happen?
Well, when you get into the situation about homeless, and I don't want to paint with a wide brush, but there's times we have so many programs and so many support systems that many people that are homeless have other issues, and again, I don't want to paint with a wide brush, but then we're getting into the mental health arena,
right? And
we do have issues with people that are dealing with mental illness that try to self-medicate, and that may be a street drug, it might be alcohol, which just exacerbates the issues instead of treating their issues. The problem that we have to get over here is we want to think of heroin usage as being the heroin den with a person who's homeless living on the street. That's not where heroin, yes, is it there? Sure, but it's in all walks of life. It's happening. In fact, I had a classmate from my high school that died this year from a heroin overdose. And it's all walks of life. And one of the things that County Executive Vince Horgan has done, and I applaud him for, is to hold several community seminars about drug addiction, and specifically for heroin, and had a lot of experts come in and present at these symposiums. And it's not going to end there. Vince is determined, and I support that. You can have public information presentations, and if you don't follow through with it, it's just another day. And he is following through, and we're involved in that. We've got several different factions that have been split off from these original presentations. One deals with law enforcement, public information, others with treatment and insurance. And one of the issues that we're seeing is people that want to go to treatment can't get in because they can't afford to, and we're trying to get over that stumbling block. But in these forums, one of the things that came out that hit me like a lightning bolt, one of the physicians that spoke there, Dr. Withers, I believe his name was, who's an addiction specialist, said in all the years of med school, doctor receives a whopping 2 hours of education on addiction.
Wow.
Yet they have an endless supply of prescriptions that they can hand out. And it's, you can become a little cynical and say, well, the drug companies are pushing this stuff too. We are a wimpy society. You got a pain, got to have a pill.
Yeah.
And some people cannot tolerate dealing with opiate types of medications.
I think of my dad's generation, my father-in-law's generation, folks in their late 70s, 80s, 90s, and they never took a pill for anything. If they would be on their deathbed before they take a pill. They wouldn't even think of taking anything over the counter unless the doctor prescribed it. You're right, our society really has changed.
Well, it's in the prescription that have been given out have been increasing at an alarming rate nationwide, and that percentage has gone through the ceiling. That prescriptions for everything. And here's an example, and they're well-meaning physicians. Don't get me wrong. They're not saying, well, we're going to push.
They're trying to make you feel better.
They're trying to take care of their patients. But I have a teenage boy who's got impacted wisdom teeth, and until his surgery could be scheduled, he was given a prescription for a narcotic drug. And without the education of what could happen, maybe some parents would say, okay, just start them on the drug. Well, that's not for everybody.
Yeah,
that
let's
kid
think
could
about
be
this a
very
little.
addictive personality, and that may be something that he wants to continue
Yeah.
and becomes physically connected to. And in our case, we said to him, that ain't going to happen. We didn't even tell him he had the prescription.
Right.
That you're going to have
Not
to deal
even up
with
for
it.
discussion.
Over-the-counter
Sure.
Tylenol and suck it up until you have your surgery.
You mentioned the drug forums. I've been told today, just here at the studio, that we've got DVDs of the drug forums, and I think it's going to be shown here at XS5 over the next several weeks from time to time. So, folks, stay tuned. You might be able to catch that. It was held over at.
There's been several that we've had. The original forum was held at Chautauqua Suites.
That's where I was at. That's where I was pointing at.
And that was a snowy day. We got one of those late snowstorms, but it was very well attended, even though the weather was horrible. And then there's been follow-ups at JCC, both there's JCC North and South, and again, the information that's out there is very good. If people want to watch that, I would encourage it, because it's an education piece, and that's going to be a big important part of the future to deal with this, is to educate people so they can make good decisions about.
We've been so overwhelmed with everything that's going around us in the world. I think the drug thing is sort of just slipped under the carpet a bit.
Well, to some, I would say that's true, and people haven't thought about heroin. Crack cocaine was such
That's
a
true.
big thing.
There was other big players.
1990s, crack cocaine hit the United States hard. And in fact, our first crack cocaine arrest in Chautauqua County was in '91, I believe. And then I'll just tell you, from that epidemic, the population of the Chautauqua County Jail spiked from the 90s going until, it's still going, unfortunately.
Okay, take a breath. We got a phone call. Should we take a call?
Sure.
Okay, good morning, caller.
Good morning. I was wondering, a couple things. One, here in Mayville, we seem to be having a lot of break-ins again in houses. I was wondering, is there some way the sheriff's department could, let everybody know this is happening? Because it always, I just hear it word of mouth from people. So we're maybe a little more on guard for it.
Is this in a particular region or just at
Here in Mayville.
Oh, Mayville. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah. All I see happening with all this drug concern is the people that really need it are having a hard time getting it, and everybody that used to use, buy prescription drugs illegally is now going to heroin and dying from it. I mean, I feel like prohibition taught us nothing. I don't see, maybe there's not a solution for every problem. It seems like every time we try and make a law to make things better, it makes things worse or with an unintended consequence. And there are people that really need it, and they are having a hard time getting it. So those are my thoughts for this morning.
So the people that need the prescription are having trouble getting the prescriptions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a lot of hoops to
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. They have to be checked out with the doctor, and he has to get clearances from the insurance companies and da-da-da-da.
Well, blah, blah, urine tests every month and
Right.
and on and on and on, and it's like, they're not doing anything illegal with their drugs. The people that are doing them illegally and selling them illegally aren't going to the doctor, so,
Okay.
it's just more government intrusion, I guess.
Okay. Very good. Those are excellent questions. I have a relative right now that's was part of a car accident, and this person's taking some medications, and he was offered a particular drug to help with the pain, and the doctor said, now if I give you this, I'm going to have to do a screening every month. And he said, what are you talking about? And he says, that's a requirement now. So, it's sort of like the good guys are being sort of punished in a way, or making it inconvenient for them, and I guess perhaps that's part of the control. I don't know. It's a tough question. But I'm not a pro on this, so let's throw the questions to Joe. How's that?
Okay, but like I was going to say, it's like gun control. It's the guys buying them honestly have to jump through the hoops, but the criminals just steal them. Okay.
Amen.
We'll get to gun control probably sometime before we're done here. How's that?
Well, maybe not. I don't know. Thank you. I'm going to hang up now.
All right, well, thanks for the call. All right, as you can see, folks, how easy it is to call in here. Great questions, and I'm going to be quiet now, so let's start with the Mayville break-ins that you mentioned. So let's go there.
Well, we've had a number of, and this is, again, consistent with other communities, we have a number of vehicle break-ins. And if we have a rash of them, there's many times we'll make that public. And sometimes when we do burglary investigations, this has been something we've debated a long time, we don't make those public. And we don't make those public for a couple of reasons. One is we don't, the victims have already been victimized, but also if we have leads in that investigation, we don't want information out to about the case and the investigation. But if we see that we need to warn the public about keeping their vehicles locked, keeping an eye on things, keeping their houses locked, and we absolutely will do that. I don't know that I am the expert about the prescribing, the issue with legal prescriptions and what the requirements are for people that have an opaque prescription. I do know that I-STOP was a law that was passed in New York State by the state about connecting physicians and pharmacies because there was an issue with people going to multiple pharmacies to overfill their prescriptions.
Right.
So that has been halted through this legislation.
I see.
I don't believe that there's a restriction on people that have a viable need for certain opaque drugs. But that's and a doctor is prescribing those.
Right.
It's when the doctor might wean them off of that and they don't want to be weaned off of it that they turn to the street to buy that drug illegally. So, I'm not sidestepping it. I just don't think I'm the guy that can answer that question about the system of prescribing.
And there's different tiers of medications, and perhaps the one I'm referring to and the caller's referring to might be a high-level medication that is now federally controlled.
Yeah, and that is something that's outside of my area.
Right. And you and I have talked over the years is you don't make the laws.
Right, and I don't agree with some of them, but you're sworn to uphold the laws, and some of them we don't, some are not enforced by local law enforcement. The DEA would deal with physicians, and if they see a physician that's illegally prescribing, and that happens too, because they're bad people in all walks of life. And in fact, at one of these forums, Dr. Withers talked about a situation where a corrupt individual had, in a doctor's office or hospital setting, had obtained a CAT scan from a badly injured individual, and he was selling that CAT scan so people could take it into their doctor, show them how badly they were injured and how bad they needed a prescription drug. So,
going right along with that, and maybe you have some words of advice, and it kind of ties in with a little bit what the caller was saying. Someone Twittered me here and said, okay, let's say the person is on medications and it's a grandparent, could be aunt, uncle, whatever, and they've got the prescriptions at the house, but the kids get wind of it. What's the obviously the common sense is to get it up and put away, but is there any other pieces of advice that you can share with folks?
Well, they have to try to secure that medication so it can't be stolen, and that we see that happening. And young people, and this is information comes from surveys of young kids, believe in their heart that if they take a prescription medicine, an opaque, that's safe, that's okay, that it's not like doing heroin on the street. Well, in some ways, they're right. You don't have the injection, but it's not their prescription, so it's not safe for them, and they can overdose on that. Overdose of heroin is what's killing hundreds of thousands of people in this country, and so it's not safe. So what do? You have to lock that up. You have to keep that out of their hands. And we have a prescription pill take back day.
Oh, and, okay. That's what I was going to ask you that.
And that's coming up. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but
let us know.
I'll get it to you.
Share that, sure.
And there we have several areas in the county. We're taking a pill drop off at the Chautauqua Mall, and then at the All-Star facility in Dunkirk. And we also have a pill drop-off box right here in Mayville in the front foyer of the sheriff's office. No questions asked. People can come in and turn in their unused medication. We don't take sharps meaning
Okay.
needles,
Right.
and liquids, because we don't have the resources to deal with that. But we also have a drug drop-off box at the Silver Creek Village Hall. We do the policing in Silver Creek now, and we've worked with the village, and they allow us to put a drug drop box at the Village Hall.
I would bet if we went into 10 homes today, I'll bet 8 of them have a medicine cabinet that is accessible to anybody that visits that house, and there's not drugs, there's medications in there that are old that should have been thrown away. What do you think?
You're probably right. You're probably right, and this gives people an opportunity. And if you just have old medicine, it doesn't have to be controlled substances, and you want to dispose of it in a way that's environmentally safe, bring it to the drug drop-off box in the front foyer of the sheriff's office. Jamestown Police has a drug drop-off box at City Hall, and those are year-round. Now the DEA has announced we think it's significant that you can turn your old medicines back to the pharmacy. And they used to not be able to take those medicines back. Now they're going to just destroy them. They're not going to give you credit on your medicine. I don't think. That would be nice if you could turn them back in and get your money back. But they are accepting them for disposal. And then what happens with all these drugs that are collected is the DEA takes them into their possession. They're accounted for. And if you come to a drug drop-off area, there's no questions asked.
Okay.
They just
They don't want to know who you are.
They don't ask questions.
Okay.
They want to get that drug off the streets, and as importantly, to get it destroyed environmentally in an environmentally safe way. A lot of people, open the toilet, dump in the pill, flush it.
Don't do
goes
that.
out. Yeah,
Don't do that.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. And this doesn't end up in the landfill either, which is it helps our environment.
Yeah. Okay. The caller kind of touched on a little bit about control, and you said something about people going from pharmacy to gather up certain things, which just a light bulb went off in my head, and that was meth. Because if I remember right, there was some folks busted here the last couple of years that was doing that. They were buying certain types of things at different drugstores legally, I believe, but then they were turning around and making meth in the back of their cars or in their garages and so forth. And let me throw one more layer on this. Randy and I were talking about this earlier, and he was saying that he was reading that the drugs and the drug lords and the drug guys and the providers are all moving out of the cities, and they're moving into rural areas. So, what's all that?
Well, the traditional method of producing methamphetamine was and producing meth is toxic, and it gives off a tremendous amount of toxins, and people that make meth in the traditional lab system were easy to find because you could smell it going on. So a lot of the reason they moved into the country was to avoid detection, because if they're way out of the because you're not going to see what's going on here, because people walking down the street could smell that meth production going on. So what's happened is, I don't know if you've tried to buy cold medicine lately.
I try not to.
Well, I
have a bad reaction to some of that stuff. It just makes me really hyper.
Well,
but I know what you're talking about.
I got one of my rare but hard-hit colds this year.
Yeah.
And I went to buy cold medicine, and if you're buying certain antihistamines, and like in this case, not a commercial, but I went to buy Advil Cold. It works for me when I have a cold. You have to go to the pharmacist. You have to show ID, and the reason is that is one of the precursors for the quick cook method of making methamphetamine. Now, we've seen that in the county, and it continues. It blows my mind, and I can't understand why somebody would do any of these drugs.
It seems dangerous to produce to begin with.
Very dangerous. And the byproducts that come from the production of methamphetamines are extremely toxic, extremely dangerous, caustic. They burn, your skin. And so they make this quick cook method, and they actually use 2-liter pop bottle that catches they can make it in their car.
Well, that's why I remember this was happening.
And then they throw the unused or the dispose of the residue that's created after they skim off the crystal. They throw away the residue. It's a brown, sludgy-looking material. And they just throw the pop bottle out the window. And some unsuspecting property owner or young child picks up this this bottle, and in it is an acid that is going to burn their skin,
Oh my gosh.
or could do a lot of damage to their eyes, and if it was ingested, could be
Is
fatal.
there, if someone was walking along the road and they did see a pop bottle like that, is there anything else with it, or is it just the bottle by
Well,
itself?
sometimes there may be a tube
Okay.
down the middle of the bottle, and that's a dead giveaway. Rarely are they capped, but they just dispose of it out
Just
the window.
out the window.
So if you do stumble across something like this, we ask that you call us, and we have a very low-key response. The hazardous materials team will come out and gather that up and then do a proper disposal of that product. But we have it. I'd love to say this county didn't have that problem, but we do. We still are a tremendously safe county. Our violent crime rate is low. One of the things that I'm really proud of is one of my top goals as being sheriff was to reduce the number of people that died on our highways. And really, in this county, your chances of being killed at the hands of a criminal are much greater at the hands of a drunk driver or drug driver than any other kind of criminal. And we've had taking credit just the sheriff's office, but us and educators and highway engineers and car design, we've reduced our traffic fatality rates in the county to record lows, and we want to keep it that way.
Okay. I just got some information. Someone Twittered me. It says here that the drug take-back day is Saturday, the 27th of September.
Yeah, next week?
Yeah. So that's coming up.
Well, I appreciate that. I actually saw the flyer yesterday and should have printed it and brought it with me, and I apologize for that.
Well, how can you keep track of it all? Okay. One more piece on drugs, and we can get to something else if we want. Okay. True or false? Okay. My read on what's going on these days is the decriminalization of marijuana. I get the sense that when I was growing up, if anybody had weed on them, they were busted, thrown into jail, considered a druggie, and on and on and on and on. And now it seems to me that people are getting almost like an appearance tickets. I don't know if that's true here in New York State, but I know down in the southern states, and then of course other states, they're making it totally legal. So what's just talk about marijuana a minute, and we got a phone call. But go ahead. Finish that.
Well, in New York State, it's been the law for several years. Possession of less than 0.7 of an ounce of marijuana is a violation. It's not a crime.
Okay, so like a speeding ticket.
Like a ticket. Yeah,
Okay.
you can't take them into custody.
Okay.
There's no one in the Chautauqua County Jail right now for possession of marijuana.
Were they ever?
Well, maybe years and years ago.
That's what I'm saying. When we were all
they're,
kids,
since the just the spike of jail population,
Okay.
they wouldn't make it there
All right,
anyway.
so it's dropped down.
But
okay.
it's not a. There's no one there. Some people have this false
Okay.
idea, the impression that our jail is full of people that are misdemeanors and violations and drunk drivers and marijuana possessors. They're not in our jail.
Okay, so they've raised to a much higher level.
Well, yeah, a large
Right.
majority of the jail population are multiple felons,
Oh, geez.
multiple charges for felonies, or recidivist felons.
Returns. Okay.
Yeah, and all of the people that are in there for misdemeanors, our last review, more than 95% of those people in there on a misdemeanor charge, which is punishable of $1,000 or a year in jail, are recidivists. So the judges have already given them a different opportunity, and
Didn't
now
do it.
they're saying, hey, you're
Okay.
back before me again,
Yeah, yeah.
you're going to jail.
Okay, so marijuana is, unless they're using large
Well, in
quantities.
fact, the highest crime that can be charged for somebody is a C felony. So you have a tractor trailer full of it. It's a C felony.
Okay, I had to ask that question. We got a caller.
Okay.
Morning, caller.
Hey, good morning, John. Good morning, Sheriff Gerace. You've been talking about like legal drugs. Where's all the illegal drugs coming from? We always hear like New York City. Is this like something where the people, jobless people, they sell the drugs to the rich people, or is it equal opportunity? We see a lot of names in the papers. It just seems to be like a certain bunch of people, just wondering where all these drugs are actually coming from, if you guys even know.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to try to deal with that. Let's start with heroin. According to the DEA, more than 50% of the heroin in this country comes from Mexico. The production of heroin the largest producer of heroin in the world is Afghanistan, and
Whoa.
but Mexico feeds the United States with heroin at a higher rate than any other country. Do we have Afghan heroin here? Sure. You know,
Okay, because they were trying to change that up, I know, the last few years in Afghanistan,
but none of the drugs, obviously, that are consumed. When I talk about none of the drugs, we'll take marijuana out of the equation. Other drugs are, if they're not manufactured here, like methamphetamines, manufactured here, or it can be imported.
Sure.
But otherwise, it's coming from outside the country. We don't have opium here. We don't have fields of opium. We don't have coca fields. So those are coming from countries where that is produced, and there's very little done about it by the governments of those countries. And getting them here, it's unbelievable. The different mechanisms that are used to get the drugs.
Everything you see on TV is probably pretty true.
From hiding it in body cavities, hiding it in dead bodies, hiding it in vehicles, hiding it in products, crates, containers. You know, millions of containers come into this country every day from all over the world that are going into shipyards and ports, and they can be smuggled into that in counterfeit product. They go to all extremes, tunneling under the country from the Mexican border to the United States.
Sure.
It's a very tough thing for us to be able to crack.
And again, it's the appetite of the American people.
It's supply and demand. And the other drugs, you know, they're coming in similar ways, and they're coming to here, though. The roots are generally to us, is from major cities. We see a large of the supply of the drugs that come here come from, they might originate in New York City, but they end up in Buffalo, Rochester, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Erie.
Distribution points, and then from there.
Correct. And talking about the marketing, you know, back in 2011, we broke up a significant heroin ring. These guys were franchise-type businessmen. They had their supply, they were moving a kilo of heroin a week in Chautauqua County. And this network of individuals, the kingpin, actually would rent houses and put his sellers in these houses, and that would be the distribution point. So you would go to this home. Now, he didn't keep his product there. He'd only deliver them, and he didn't do it. His lieutenants did.
Absolutely.
They delivered what they needed for their day's sales. He'd collect the money, account for every dime, but they had a safe house where they kept the drugs that, you know, was their storage house that was not occupied. And he had these little franchises that and it wasn't just in Chautauqua, it was in other areas too. And when we knocked them off, there was, believe it or not, a rush on ER for people that needed opiate. The treatment centers were overwhelmed by people that came to them and said, we need treatment. And some of them just moved to other areas to find their drugs. So they drove to Erie, they drove to Buffalo.
All right, so like they're coming in, it seems like, from other countries south of us. What about the Canadian border? Is that an issue?
Well, we don't, you know, we have not here, our task forces have not had that I know of, a connection where we went into Canada. Many of it goes into the cities within the country. And then once we identify the player, we're obviously bringing in federal resources, and then they might take that into other countries. But our local enforcement would be dealing with it's coming from cities. And in fact, this 2011 ring, they actually had a Connecticut connection, because this guy had made a friend in prison who was a distributor in Connecticut. So when he got low on product and couldn't find it from other sources, they make a trip to Connecticut.
Quick phone call. Yeah, Connecticut isn't that far away. This may seem like a lame question, but okay. You're driving around in your neighborhood. You're out. We live in villages and towns in Chautauqua County. You see something weird. You smell something weird. Something doesn't look right. We were talking earlier about somebody dropping something off in the bushes or whatever. Who do we call? Is there a retro? Will we get somebody coming back at us? I mean, how does this all work? I mean, we want to be good citizens. A lot of people say, I don't want to get involved. Senior citizens, oh, no, they're going to break into my house if I report them. How do we do this? How do we help?
Well, if you call your local law enforcement, we would encourage you to call the sheriff's office if we are your primary law enforcement, or the state police. In the cities, you call the city police department, and you can leave information anonymously.
Okay.
Obviously, the dispatchers are going to try to get as much information as they can. They're trained to do that.
Is this a 911 call?
If it's emergent, if you see a suspicious package, something that's life-threatening, absolutely. Otherwise, if there's general criminal activity or suspicious activity, I won't raise it to the level of criminal activity at that point. You suspect it might be. That might be a 7-digit phone call, and then you can do that anonymously.
And I think there's numbers in the phone books, right?
Yes. Well, our general number is 753-2131, and that's the non-emergency number for the sheriff's office dispatch. It's in the phone book. And give us information. And really, since we just celebrated September 11th, the anniversary of a horrific event in this country, but we've become complacent about the security of our homeland, too. And what's going on internationally now, especially with this group ISIS, we've got to be vigilant again to start talking about, this just doesn't look right. And what we found after September 11th, 2001, was a renewed interest in people's communities. People started caring about their community again, and I don't mean they don't care about their neighbors, and this doesn't look right or that, and people reported things that help solve other crime. For instance, we're talking about the burglaries and the car larcenies. Hey, there's a group of kids in front of my house. It's 2 a.m. That's a call. That needs to be checked on.
Or vans and cars showing up down the neighborhood that aren't normally there week after week, not just for a party or something like that.
It's not us and the public, it's us together, law enforcement. We are the community, we are part of the community, we live in the communities, and we can't be successful without people working together.
Okay, let's take a break. We have another caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sheriff Gerace. Good morning, Doc. This is Linda Spalding.
Good morning,
Hi, Linda.
How are you on this beautiful, glorious morning?
I couldn't be any better. It'd probably be illegal.
Finer than frog hair.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you and your team for the rapid response that you gave to the murder in the town of Westfield, out there in the Sherman area for Mary Whittaker. It was amazing the way they were apprehended so quickly.
Well, thank you. Hey, and that's a perfect example of really good law enforcement and cooperative law enforcement. We worked very closely with multiple agencies, including the FBI. We're blessed to have an FBI office in Chautauqua County, and that's a resource that...
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah, they have
I didn't know there was one either.
Yeah, they've had a resident office in Jamestown for many, many years, and through my whole career. And that's a resource that I am not afraid to use. In fact, we're very close with the agents that are assigned here, and that was helpful for us because they were able to bring resources to the table immediately. And also, my investigators, they've done a tremendous job. We've had several high-profile cases in the last few years that have ended relatively quickly, successfully. We'd like to not have to have those cases happen at all, but I do really appreciate you commenting on that.
Yeah, that was really. I couldn't believe how quickly that they were found.
Well, one of my investigators identified one of the two suspects within an hour of our arrival at the scene. He was working a case that involved the Conklin individual, and he said, I'm going to put him out there right now as a suspect. And then that helped us because, one, we were able to you do a lot of things right away. The first thing you do in a homicide case, and people might glean this from television shows, you learn as much about the victim as you can, and that will lead you in a lot of cases to perpetrators. And immediately we started looking at where her vehicle was gone from the residence. So where could that vehicle be? How could we track that vehicle? Is there any of the electronic mechanism to track that vehicle? And like easy passes and the quick call alert systems that some of the manufacturers have on their cars. But when we started looking at her bank accounts and credit card accounts, and the FBI was able to quickly search national databases.
So it's just like you see on TV, like CSI, with all the computers flipping around. And
Well, it's a
Criminal Minds.
Yeah, it's a little Hollywood, but it's like the show CSI. I've ruined that for my wife because I used to be a crime scene investigator. And I watched an episode and I said, "Oh my goodness, you're really watching this? This is sci-fi and Hollywood. That stuff doesn't exist." But anyway, yes, in some ways, in a different kind of way, it does. And when we found the credit card had been compromised, then we dispatched investigators to Erie, Pennsylvania, and the Erie Police Department was phenomenal. They bent over backwards for us, and they just poured resources at us. We did stakeout search warrants and apprehensions, obviously. And when the first location where that credit card had been compromised, we were able to make an identification. And then the rest of it was trying to locate them and preserve evidence.
So Linda, what else is going on your world today?
Well, this week coming up, starting tomorrow, which would be September 21st, is recognition week for Hire the Older Worker.
Okay.
And this is a national publicity because it's time for people to look back and realize the value of mature workers, their dependability, their work experience, their dedication, their, the skills they carry. So we're promoting Hire the Older Worker Week.
And Older Worker Week, I always ask you this question, is somebody over 40 or 50 or 60?
Well, actually, for us, for our funding source, it's 55 and over.
Well,
However,
thank
the
you.
Department of Labor, when they're looking into maybe age discrimination case or something like that, looks at anybody who's 40 plus as an older worker.
Okay, terrific. Okay, well, thanks for announcing that.
All right. Well, have a great week.
Okay, and thanks for calling in as always.
And thank you, and start hiring some mature workers. They're great.
I'll do what I can.
Okay. Thanks again. It was great seeing you, Sheriff, on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Joe, we got a couple minutes left. I wanted just to touch on real quick. I've been watching this Pennsylvania situation where the guy supposedly killed a state trooper and he's on the run right now. Doesn't that smell of Bucky Phillips all over again for you? And I know we're running out of time, but just a quickie there. Say whatever you want to say.
It's horrific. We're at a time in our society. It's a little scary for law enforcement. Obviously, my heart goes out to those family members of the slain trooper and the critically injured trooper. Yes, and in some ways it is a flashback, especially the flat-out assassination of this trooper had no idea what was going on, and
senseless.
It's absolutely senseless. And my hope is that the perpetrator can be brought to justice without anybody else being hurt.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap things up here. So let's go real quick. Somebody suspects something, call either 911 right away, or what's that number again?
That's 753-2131.
Okay. If, let's see, if you have any concerns about drugs, you can contact your office. Is there any place else? Department of Health, perhaps?
Well, it depends on the question. If it's law enforcement related, yes, absolutely. They can use the same phone number. There is several different tip lines. The City of Jamestown Police have a tip line for the city. We have one. We also use what's called WeTip. It's 1-800-78-CRIME.
Okay.
1-800-78-CRIME, and they can report criminal activity and be eligible for a reward of up to $1,000.
Okay,
for
great.
giving that information.
Sheriff Gerace, thanks for being my guest today. It's been very informative. I didn't know we had FBI here. And at this point, I got to sign off. I want to thank the crew here today. Randy Burt on camera. Chris Burt has been running our board in our engineering booth. I want to thank Linda and our callers for calling in again. Chautauqua Sunrise every Saturday morning from 9 to 10. I'm Doc Hamels. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.